The new patch has been out for a couple of days, and the meta is starting to settle. Today we're going to go through 5 of the best comps to climb ranked and how to play them. We'll cover Augments, Itemization, and what to do at each stage of the game, so let's get into it. Starting off with my favourite comp of the set, Berserker Warriors. This comp fell off last patch due to reroll comps dominating the meta, but with the new patch buffing a lot of other comps, it's now back to a good state. We have Gwen and Fiora as our main damage carries, and Karma as our utility carry, spreading debuffs like anti-heal and the Witchcraft trait if you manage to find an emblem. What makes this comp so great to play is that it stabilizes very quickly at level 8, and utilizes both AP and AD items, meaning you can play it regardless of the components you get. It is a very expensive comp, with the majority of the units being 4 or 5 costs, so managing your health and economy is very important. If you don't manage your resources, you'll struggle to come online at level 8. However, it caps very highly, and if you manage to 2-star all of your units, you'll be fighting for first place in most games. Some great augments for this comp are strong econ augments that give you additional gold or help you to get to level 8 quicker. These will significantly improve your top 4 rate as they increase your chances of hitting all of your key units and stabilizing. Additionally, augments that give you extra items are great too, as this comp essentially has 3 carries, making it very item hungry. Look out for gold and prismatic shimmer scale items, which provide a lot of gold throughout the game, and great tank items for your main tank. Augments that give you a Witchcraft emblem are also good, as they strengthen your mid game and allow you to put in 4 Witchcraft at level 9, making your board even stronger. Itemization should focus on Gwen and Fiora. Any AP items should go onto Gwen, and any AD items onto Fiora. Don't be too picky with the exact items, just focus on at least one survivability item like BT and Hodge, and then any strong AP and AD items. These are the best in slot items you can build, but you don't need to hit exactly them for the comp to work. You should also focus on itemizing Karma with Morello's and Blue buff, and then place any tank items on whichever tank you manage to 2-star at level 8, most likely either Rakan or Nasus. In the early game, the best opener I've found success with is Witchcraft with Fairy, using Poppy as an item holder for Fiora and Zoe as an item holder for Gwen. Since you can build both AP and AD items for this comp, try to play the strongest board based on the components you get. If you get lots of AP items, look at opening boards suited for that, like Portal and Witchcraft. If you get AD items, consider Hunters or Multi-Strikers with Eldritch and a Vanguard frontline. For leveling, in most cases you want to level to 4 at stage 2-1, 5 at 2-5, and 6 at 3-2. If you don't manage to build a board with any 2 stars, try to lose strike to gain a big economy advantage and push levels quicker. Good augment to support this is Fortune Favours the Bold, which works like the Fortune trait from last set. Going into the mid game, aim to level to 7 around stage 3-5 if you can do so and still have 30 gold left. If not, maintain your 50 gold interest threshold and wait until you can level to 8 with 30 gold to roll with. As you level up, slot in whatever units you can to make your board as strong as possible, activating any additional traits. It's not crucial which units you use here, as most of them won't be in your final board. The late game, you want to level to 8 around stage 4-2 and roll down to hit as many units from your final board as possible. If you don't find Morgana on your roll down, you can use Nico as a temporary replacement until you go to level 9. Knowing when to stop rolling and go to level 9 takes practice, but a general rule is to 2-star at least one frontline unit and one of your damage units like Gwen or Fiora. This should be enough to stabilize. From there, econ back up to go to level 9 and cap out your board with Morgana and Milio. If you've taken too much damage and need to play for top 4, roll down again to try to 2-star the rest of your 4-cost units. A comp you can pivot to if you find lots of Katarinas is the 4 warrior version with Kat and Akali, focusing on 3-starring Katarina as your main carry. Both have similar top 4 rates, but the original comp we went through caps much higher and has a higher win rate overall. Next up we have one of the few 2-cost rerolls to survive this new patch, Hug and Tristana Reroll. This comp has one of the lowest first place rates at the minute, also one of the highest top 4 rates, so you won't be winning many games with this unless you get very lucky, but it should be a very safe top 4 comp. I would only look to play this if you get lots of AD items early, along with a good opening board to support it, such as Honeymancy with Hog or Fairy with Tristana. As with most 2-cost reroll comps, your goal is to get to level 6 and slow roll any gold over 50 to try and 3-star as many of your 2-cost units as possible before pushing levels to slot in additional traits like Hunter and Vanguards. For augments, look for any strong combat augments that support a low cost board such as featherweights at tier 1 and 2 healthy at tier 2. These are great because most of your board will be 1 and 2 cost units. You can also play the Sweet Tooth and Zap Attack hero augments, which provide an extra carry for the comp and significantly increase its win rate. However, they aren't needed to get top 4s. Normally I'd suggest reroll augments for these kind of comps, but right now the stats show you're better off going for strong combat augments over hitting your units earlier. Avoid reroll augments unless you're low on health and just trying to scrape a top 4. For itemization, prioritize whichever carry you manage to 2-star first, whether it's Cog or Trist. They are both similar item builds, but Trist prefers attack speed based items like Windsus and Runans, while Cog prefers pure AD items with Shojin to help him cast more frequently. For your tanks, try to slam items on whichever tank you 2-star first, then move them over to the tank you 3-star first with a remover. In the early game, as I mentioned earlier, look out for a Honeymancy or Fairy start with Cog or Trist. If you manage to 2-star 1 or 2 units before stage 2-2, level up to 4 and try to win streak. If not, stay at level 3 and preserve your econ to help you hit 6 as soon as possible. Also, make sure you're scouting to see if you're being contested and be aware of what others are playing. Don't be afraid to call out to the lobby that you're playing a certain comp. It's not common at lower ELO, but in higher ELO it's quite normal and helps deter people from contesting you if they haven't already committed to the comp. Going into the mid game, you want to level up to 6 at 3-2. Unless you win streaked up to this point, roll down slightly to around 30 gold to 2-star a few of your units and stabilize. From there, econ back up to 50 and slow roll to try and 3-star Cog, Trist, Nunu and Rumble as soon as you can. Once you're close to 3-starring your units, go all in and roll down your gold until you 3-star at least 3 of your units. For the late game, it's just a case of econing back up and leveling to 8 to slot in Jinx and any strong frontline unit you can find, such as Tarm, Taric or Nasus. At this point, you're likely getting a top 4 and it's just about positioning correctly for each fight to reach higher placement. Make sure to position Cog next to Tristana as he gives an attack speed buff when he casts. Before we get into this next comp, if you do find these guys helpful, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel, as it really helps with the growth. Also, if you do try any of these comps, let me know how it goes in the comments. I try to reply to everyone, so if you have any questions I don't cover, I'll answer them there. So with that out of the way, this is the most popular comp to play right now, as it has one of the highest top 4 and win rates going, and that is Portal Ryze. This is one of the most straightforward comps to play, but since it relies on mostly a single carry in Ryze, it can be hard to win out if you don't find Ryze 2 on your level 8 roll down. Playing this comp with a Portal spat isn't a must, but it will definitely increase your top 4 chances, allowing you to put in 6th Portal much earlier than usual, and also hit 8th Portal at level 8 without needing to find Nora, which can be very difficult. With that in mind, for augments, anything that gives you a Portal emblem, such as the crest or crown, is a must pick. Other than that, there aren't any specific augments unique to this comp, just play the augments with the highest stats. If you're unsure on what that is, use a site like MetaTFT or Tactics.tools. I use the MetaTFT app as it shows the stats in game, saving you time to look them up. Itemization, you want to prioritize getting a Shojin on Ryze, followed by any strong AP or attack speed items. Red buff is ridiculously strong on Ryze, as his ability hits 3 different enemies, spreading the debuff. If you can't find red buff, Windsus is also good, and Archangels is another great pick, as it scales throughout the fight with 8 Portal. Fights usually get drawn out and due to the Portal spawning Krugs to beef up your front line. Next, itemize Galio in the early game with any tank items, and then swap them over to Taric once you get him 2-starred. For opening boards, look for either Portal or Mage related. Zoe is a great item holder for Ryze early on if you manage to find a Portal start. There are plenty of great AP item holders at 1 cost like Seraphine, Ziggs that can do a good job too. Try to play your strongest board and slowly pivot into Portal when you can without weakening your board. Going into the mid game, level to 6 at 3-2. If you lost streaked up to this point, roll a couple of times to stabilize your board so you can remain relatively healthy throughout stage 3. If you got a Portal emblem from an augment or elsewhere, it's at this point you can put in 6th Portal, which should pretty much carry you through the whole stage. Make sure to scout to identify anyone who might contest you. As mentioned, this is one of the most popular comps right now, and you need to hit Ryze 2 for it to work. If someone looks like they might contest you, consider leveling to 8 before them to roll down and hit Ryze first. Between stages 4-1 and 4-2, you should be leveling to 8 and rolling down most of your gold to find Ryze, Taric, Nora, and any Bastion you can find in 2-star. Ideally, you want to have 2-starred either Taric or Ryze, or at least have them paired. Stay at level 8 rolling for combat charms until you've 2-starred Ryze. Then you can econ back up to level 9 and cap your board with a Bastion unit. You can pivot from this comp if you don't find an emblem or Nora and simply play 3 Portal with Preservers. This isn't as strong as the vertical Portal comp, but it does have a positive top 4 rate and doesn't require high rolling of 5 cost. It caps out similarly at level 9 with Morgana and Milio. Next we have primarily a 1-cost reroll comp that was dominating the meta last patch. Despite some nerfs, it still has one of the highest top 4 rates. The comp focuses on 3-starring Poppy, Lilia, Zoe and Ahri before leveling up to slot in 4 Scholars and 4 Bastions. This comp is very strong, stabilizes early, and has a high cap with a few key augments. Positioning is crucial as most of your damage comes from Ahri's AoE spell, which travels in a line. Make sure there is space around your frontline tank to wrap around Ahri, so she can hit as many units as possible. Key augments for this comp include Higher Education, which gives extra attack speed to both Ahri and Zoe, Spellblades, the strongest combat augment for this comp, and an upgraded Adventure Prismatic, as the entire comp revolves around 3-starring 4 units. Higher Horsepower or Witchy Wallop are also 2 great hero augments that fit perfectly, and finding either significantly increases the comp's top 4 rate. Itemization should focus on Ahri and whichever tank you manage to 3-star first. Ahri's best item is Adaptive Helm with JG and Deathcap, but you can also use Blue Buff with other strong AP items. For your tanks, slam any tank items you can make to preserve health, but try to build an Ionic Spark for MR Shred to increase your damage output. To succeed with this comp, look to find lots of copies of Lilia, Poppy and Zoe early on before the PvP round starts. You can hard force this comp, but your success rate will be much higher if you naturally find lots of copies early. The plan is to avoid leveling at all and preserve your gold for stage 3, only buying Lilia, Poppy, Zoe or Ahri's that appear in your shop. Make sure to scout to see if anyone else is contesting you, as this will still be a popular comp and struggles when 2 players are committed to it, especially if you don't have a natural opener. At stage 3-1, you should still be level 4, and it's at this point you want to roll down to 30 gold to find as many copies of your units as possible, as well as any Bastion unit you can find, ideally Hecarim. After that, econ back up to level 5 and slow roll any gold over 50 to 3-star your unit. If you manage to 3-star all of your 1-cost units, econ back up to level 6, either slow rolling for Ahri or continuing to level up and slotting your units from the final board. Find a good time to roll for 3-star Ahri along the way. During the late game, hit level 8 and put in 4 Scholars and 4 Bastions. You should then be focusing on positioning Ahri in the best spot for each fight. Make sure to buy any combat charms you can, and depending on your health, you may be able to go to level 9 and further cap out your board with Xerath, although this isn't necessary to secure top 4s. We have a Jinx reroll comp with Wukong as your main tank. This comp gained popularity towards the end of the last patch and is still very strong in the new meta. It's a very simple comp to play, with Wukong as your solo tank in the front line and Jinx in the back line, scaling with attack speed. If you find the Wukong hero augment at 3-2 and you're uncontested, it's pretty much a guaranteed top 4. Even without it, the comp has a strong top 4 rate compared to the other 3-cost reroll comps currently being played. Standout augments other than Spin to Win are Hunting Frenzy and Category 5, as well as any that give you perfect items like Pandora's items or You Have My Bow. As mentioned earlier, I wouldn't take reroll augments unless it ensures you hit that round or you're being contested by someone else. With so many viable comps this patch, combat augments are key for higher placements. For itemization, Guinsoo's on Jinx is essential. Without it, the comp won't work. Wukong becomes nearly unkillable once he's 3-starred, allowing Jinx to ramp up Guinsoo's stacks and clean up towards the end of the fight. The other 2 items are flexible, but Last Whisper and Runans are the best options. For Wukong, Double Gargoyles is a must, as he'll be your solo tank, gaining a lot of resistances by being the only one targeted at the front line. The 3rd item is flexible, with Warmugs being the best option and Redemption a close second. In the early game, try to play strong AD starts with either Hunters or Blasters, using Twitch, Nomsy and Tristana as item holders for Jinx. A common approach to this is play towards the COG reroll comp mentioned earlier, and if you find Jinx or Wukong early, pivot into that. Since this is a 3-cost reroll comp, you'll be slow rolling at level 7, so level for tempo at 2-1 and 3-2, then econ for the rest of the time. During the mid game, level to 7 around stage 4-1 and roll down to stabilise your board by 2-starring Jinx and Wukong. From there, econ back up to 50 and slow roll 3-star both of them. Plan a stage to go all in and roll down all of your gold to hit. Knowing when to do this, as I said, comes with practice, but a general rule is if you have 6 or more copies of both units, or you're very low health, then now is probably a good time to go all in. And going into the late game, level to 8 as soon as possible, then roll for combat charms. With 3 cost reroll comps, you rarely have the time or the health to econ to go back to level 9. Instead, you're better off rolling strong combat charms to carry you through to higher placements, unless you win streak the entire game or play a region portal that gives you a bunch of gold. And that's it for this guide. Hope you found it helpful. Let me know how your clan goes in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.